What makes you great at story, and how did you get good at it?
My big education in story was really when I worked for Blake on his second book. Just because the thing that I had to do in that role as sort of his research assistant was watch 50 movies, and not just watch them once, but watch them over and over again. And break them down and sort of figure out what the structure was and how they were working, right? So that was like my crash course into story. Before that, I worked in the entertainment business. I read scripts. I was, writing coverage and talking about scripts with people. But it wasn't until I did that and had that sort of like immersion into just the rhythm of stories that I felt like I sort of absorbed it, and it was like in my bones after that. So that was a great experience. And I think that was my first, or not my first, but that was probably the biggest impact on my understanding of story.
Wow, that's really cool. So would he give you a list of movies to watch?
Oh yeah, so in the second book there are 50 movies that are broken down sort of beat by beat. And so I think overall we watched more than 50 because 50 made the final cut, but it was watching the movie once just to sort of let it wash over you, and then it was watching again, paying attention to structure, and then it was watching again, taking notes and trying to figure out like, okay, is this sort of time-wise, is this kind of where the act ends, and is this where it escalates, and things like that, and trying to like really make sure that we understood it. So each of those movies I watched at least 3 times. And that was, I think, if you want to sort of have an understanding of the rhythm of storytelling, that's a great exercise. Just sit in your apartment for several months, watch movies nonstop, watch the same movie over and over again, because you'll just sort of like absorb it,
Was there 1 or 2 of the films of those 50 that was really, it was just a little bit difficult to grasp the structure and some of the things around it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Crash was a tough one to break down because it's not traditional, right? It has a 3-act structure, but because it follows different storylines, it makes it harder to kind of like follow that one through line all the way through, right? Obviously, but so that was probably one of the harder ones to figure out how were they making this work in a way that felt like it was all one story that had sort of a beginning, middle, and end, yet we were being told this one story through 3 separate storylines, or 3 or 4, I can't remember.
And then when you would watch these different movies, I know you said they were more than 50, would you write coverage on them?
No, so, well, I take that back. It wasn't coverage like we think of coverage, but I was writing kind of the structure breakdowns of them. Like, here's the opening image, here's what happens in the setup, here's the inciting incident, all that stuff.
And how long would each like movie be?
Oh, probably pages? 3 pages.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Wow. It's a little synopsis of the story.
Yeah. Can you tell us how you met Blake Snyder?
Oh, sure. My first job in LA was working for a manager-producer as an assistant, and Blake was a friend of his, and so he would just come in the office and was such a friendly, genuine person that he, of course, made time to talk to me, the assistant, before he would go in and have a meeting. And so I got to know him over time, and he was very supportive of writers in general and of me being interested in screenwriting. And so when he wrote his first book, he gave it to me to sort of beta read and give him my thoughts and tell him if it was useful. And I think I still have that original copy. And then when he decided to write the second book, he asked if I would sort of come be his research assistant. So then that's when I started watching all of the movies for him.
Wow. Any memories, anecdotes, just from seeing how he worked?
Gosh. Not that I can share.
Oh, okay,
No,
sure.
No, I'm kidding. No, he's, I think the lasting memory that I have of Blake is just that he was so enthusiastic about story. So if I ran an idea by him for a script that I wanted to write, he would instantly, latch onto it and get excited and, start pitching ideas. And that enthusiasm, I think, is what sort of set him apart, because he, you could even be sort of lukewarm about your own idea, but his enthusiasm would make you fall in love with it and excited to write it. So.
And did you think that his books would have such an impact? I mean, there's so many great books out there, but his is like in another stratosphere in terms of the reach.
Yeah, I remember reading the first book, and one of the things that he wanted to know was, do you think this is useful? Do you think writers will be able to use this? And I remember thinking, like, this is amazing. I can't imagine anyone not being able to get something out of this. So I think just the way he sort of simplified and distilled, the same things that we all talk about with 3-act structure, and he really took the idea of 3-act structure and sort of made it accessible and easy to understand, even if you're just starting to learn about story structure or screenwriting in general. So I think that is what makes his books, lasting and have such a big impact on people.
Great. Yeah, I know he even wrote a letter to David back in, was it 2008 or 2009? It was so cool.
Yeah, for my first feature film. Because in the book he says, like, just send me your log line. Right?
Yeah,
I know. And then he actually got back.
That was so cool.
Like a day or two, I was like, holy cow, he got back to me.
Yeah,
So.
it's funny. People still submit log lines to that email address.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And does anyone answer it, or no?
Usually I do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, because it's still. It's still going. It's its own. It's kind of like the artist's way. It's gonna always. kind of be in there.
I mean, people love it. It's it's controversial at times, right? Like there's some people that think it's too formulaic or whatever. I think that those people are sort of missing the spirit of it a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, people rave about it still, that are just finding it now. So.